though I must admit that it is really breathtaking. The problem is that I allowed myself to become overly enthusiastic. It was far too expensive for what I got. I could care less if we would never get a dime of it returned. What gives, mostly because we already have Labuick on staff. Henry Cole is both an iconic rider and a popular TV personality known for his restoration projects and vintage bikes. However, bicycles are just one part of his story. Henry may have started out as a cameraman, but his passion for storytelling shines through in every one of his broadcasts. From his time spent working in the background to his time spent performing on stage, his career has been greatly influenced by his passion for motorcycles. His personal problems have also given people a glimpse into his life that they might not have known otherwise. What follows is some background on Henry Cole that you may not have known previously. Henry Cole attended the esteemed Eton College after spending the majority of his childhood in Berkshire. Among Henry Cole and #039's fellow Eton College students was Boris Johnson, the son of a full-time housewife and an army major. Henry Cole came into this world in Norfolk, England. After finishing school, he got his start in the industry as a cameraman for both movies and television, before moving into the world of rockumentaries. With a handful of heavy rock bands, he worked for television networks like ITV and TF1. Henry switched gears and started directing movies and TV commercials. Around this period, thanks to the invaluable abilities he honed during those times, he was free to explore narrative experimentation and understand production basics. Henry began collaborating on a wide range of projects, from music videos to advertisements. After his successful rise to the top of the industry in an effort to get valuable insights, several of his initiatives included well-known people such Thomas Howell and Elizabeth Hurley, with whom he eventually collaborated. Henry was still unhappy with his life. Despite the success of his career, something was severely missing from his life: his fascination with motorbikes, which he had nurtured since he was a little boy, drew him in. Many believe that Henry didn't and #039 start riding motorbikes until much later in his career, but the reality is that he was born with an innate talent for the sport. Incredible as Henry and #039's family tree is, it begins with his great-granduncle, the late William Ewart Gladstone, who was Prime Minister of the UK. Henry comes from an impressive family and has had a good career. During his discussion about his uncles, Henry revealed that his great-uncle Redbeard Gladstone had the early opportunity to introduce him to influential figures and events that would shape his life. From a young age, Henry and #039's urge to travel was strong. He had spent his youth in a 14-bedroom home with his mother, dog, and low-profile father. The only way outdoor was an invitation from his great-uncle to visit his factory in Liverpool. Upon visiting his great-uncle and #039's shed, Henry was enthralled by the remarkable collection of vintage motorcycles from the United Kingdom. The combination of the smell of oil and leather with the sight of a Triumph or BSA motorbike made him want to devote the rest of his life to old cars. Henry stepped into a completely new world in the shed, one that was drastically different from his wealthy background. He had been yearning for independence, and this area screamed it from the rooftops. His love for motorbikes skyrocketed at that point, leading him to a lifestyle where his social status was less important than the horsepower he possessed. Eventually, Henry and #039's foray into the motorcycle industry blossomed into a full-time profession. It was an #039 an overnight decision for Henry to join the motorcycling community, though he was working as a media professional when he began to consider ways to merge his love of motorcycles with the knowledge he had acquired. The rest, as they say, is history. He stepped into the limelight, revealing his inner genius to the world. He rose to prominence as a result of his talent at producing captivating content. Although it may seem impossible for someone who is completely devoted to motorcycles to pick a favorite, it is certainly within the realm of possibility. Henry said in an interview that his Norton would be his first choice if he had to carry just one motorcycle to a desolate island with a scenic network of roads. This individual is my Norton alright. Not only is the brand synonymous with all things British, but it is also the most beautiful motorbike ever made. For these reasons, I consider it an icon. The frame of this bike is based on the Norton ES2, but it has been customized with parts from several bikes. Henry finds delight in it whenever he wears it, regardless of the day or time of day, even though it does not match. Henry has finished filming a 400-mile motorcycle adventure in Wales for his show World's Greatest Motorcycle Rides, using the mismatched Norton he went on this ride. It may have been a bicycle from the 1940s, but it proved its reliability and operated well anyway. Henry went on to say that his second favorite vehicle is a desert racer, starring Steve McQueen. He says it meets all of his own needs. If you n #039, limited to just 2 bikes, finding one that meets all of your needs will be an uphill battle. However, the Norton and the Steve McQueen bikes are quite near in contrast. Henry doesn't n #039. He just have a few of favorite bicycles. He has a bike for any occasion, which is why he has a large collection. Henry is intent on finding a way to connect with each of his motorcycles, as he spends much of his time riding alone, even though he claims that bicycles can n #039. Talk to each other. Every one of his rides feels like a conversation with the bike he chooses for his frequent daytime rides. To the Cotswolds, for instance, he loves nothing more than to take his beloved Norton bike. With each trip, though, his American helicopter shows a new side of him, while engaging in profound discourse. To rephrase, while most people see motorcycles as inanimate objects, Henry sees them as friends and sources of creative energy. Henry Cole may be most known for his current prominence in the motorcycle industry, but his interests go much beyond that. Henry appears to have an innate talent for fixing up old cars, so it seems to reason that he would also enjoy this hobby. Henry takes great pleasure in learning the backstories of all of his classic cars and motorcycles, as seen in his show Shared and Buried Classic Cars. Furthermore, Henry loves nothing more than hitting the road for adventures, which have taken him to some amazing locations across the globe. According to him, the journeys aren't n #039 just about the voyage, they n #039 mostly about the cultures and people he meets. Undoubtedly, the inspiration for his stories comes from his travels, which offer a window into different cultures and stunning natural settings. Henry may be on his way now, sharing his adventures and bringing joy to viewers, but few know about the hardships he endured to get where he is now. Henry admitted that the years 1983 to 1988 were the worst of his life. When he thought back on them, he struggled with substance abuse issues throughout this time. Henry is now offering his support to individuals who are also on the road to recovery, even though he has been clean for almost 30 years. Henry drew attention to the length of time it took him to come to terms with the fact that his drug abuse had isolated him from the world. At the time, he was contemplating his journey. Being more than simply a TV personality, he has made happiness his life and #039 as focus, and many people look up to him as an inspiration. Putting on a spectacular motorcycle show is great, but being an inspiration to people all around the globe is the most fulfilling thing ever. There is a huge gap between Henry and #039 motorbike show and the other popular and longest-running UK motorbike magazine programs. He simply needs to make it seem like the show is real for it to work. Another thing that keeps viewers from getting bored is that the show doesn't n #039 stay in one garage or have the same setup every week. Rather than that, Henry shows viewers a variety of road journeys, so they may see different areas without leaving their couches. Many people are unaware that Henry owns the television production company that is responsible for creating the show. Even though fans adore the various destinations featured on it, since he is able to feature his close friends, who enhance the show and #039 enjoyment level through their involvement, and he is also free to develop original content for his dedicated audience. This also contributes to the show and #039 appeal. You should realize that Henry and #039 love of motorcycles extends much beyond what You see on TV, on rare occasions he takes on challenges and that and hashtag 039, as how he broke multiple world records thus far. Henry set a new global land speed record on a vintage Prof Superior, a 750 cubic centimeters motorbike manufactured before 1955 while competing in one of his 2013 events. This was a huge accomplishment for Henry. He reached the incredible velocity of 9,978 miles per hour. To achieve this, needless to say, there and hashtag 039. As more, Henry and Alan Milliard set a new Guinness World Record for the fastest tandem motorcycle ride. At Elvington Airfield, in North Yorkshire, they had met at Henry and hashtag 039 as motorbike event in 2014, of May of 2023. This mark has stood when they rode in Alan and hashtag 039 as Viper V10, powered by an 8-liter Dodge sports car engine. They reached a top speed of 183 miles per hour. They were able to surpass the previous record holders thanks to this. The record-breaking nature of Henry and hashtag 039 as work is heightened by the fact that Alan designed and built the Viper V10 in his adjacent single-car garage. Not only that, but Henry and hashtag 039 S record is captivating due to the main record, even when he and hashtag 039 S not filming. Henry and hashtag 039 S character remains consistent. His life revolves around motorbikes, traveling and similar pursuits, while he ISN and hashtag 039 T out on his lengthy rides. He writes and thinks about cyclists. His memoirs, Biker and hashtag 039 S life misadventures on and off two wheels, were candid about his romantic relationships. He detailed his experiences of disorientation and how riding his motorcycle brought him back to himself at different points in his life. Henry and hashtag 039 S story ignited a passion in millions of motorcyclists who were reminded of the freedom their $1,000 bikes could provide. He summed up motorcyclists as a global community of individuals who share a desire to be enthralled by the freedom to roam the open road, experiencing the rush of speed, rather than being subdued by a stationary vehicle. He managed to depict motorcyclists in all their glory.